Think of it as a long-term plan. Investing in early childhood education can boost their development, but also later the economy. How big a boost? Dr. Walter Heidary is the founder of Childventures Early Learning Academy. Margaret Czajkowski is its executive director. Great to have both of you with us.
Thank you for having us.
Walter, I want to start with, we've seen the numbers on, $1 invested in early childhood education is worth $3 later. If the numbers are even remotely true, why are we still talking about this? Why is this not an investment that just seems obvious to everybody we should make, and we should do it collectively?
Well, I think we're getting distracted right now by conversations about for-profit centers and their quality and non-for-profit centers and where they're going. I think what we need to look at is the international stage and see what is really happening in the world. When our childcare system is ranking below other countries, other civilized countries that are developing good programs, we need to back off on the conversations about where's the quality. We need to start dealing with the hard truth and figure out what else we need to do.
So Margaret, for parents that are very interested in this, because most parents are very concerned about their children's education, if they can afford it, what does it cost to put them into an environment where they can accelerate, perhaps in a company like yours?
Definitely the money is a real big piece for parents to be considering. And you've got, like you saw on TV the other night, people in homes having to choose that for childcare, right up to licensed quality childcare centers.
So what does it cost for a high quality young child's education on a private basis? How much a year?
For a year, $1,200 for would be considered, I think, would be average.
Is this a form of daycare, essentially?
Yes, it would be.
Okay. And is there any way to measure that investment versus perhaps one that costs less? Is there some tangible way to say this is worth paying for?
Well, I think the research itself certainly is leading people to understand that the most critical ages for a child's development is 0 to 6. So it's important that we're giving the children the best experience possible at that young age so that they can be successful later on in life.
So, and just to clarify, you said $1,200. You mean a month, I'm sure, not a year.
That's right.
But Walter, back to this kind of issue, because the debate has been a little bit deflected into, publicly funded spaces, for-profit. How should we measure the value of the places, and how should they best be funded? I mean, how much of your funding, for instance, should come from governments, and how much of it should just be from parents willing to pay?
Well, I think that in this country we should have a two-tier system where there's place for both type of providers. In the families that need some type of subsidy and some type of support, we should be there to help them out, especially with those that have children within those formative years. Families that are able to pay, we should be able to then allow them the opportunity to pay and go into the competitive marketplace where childcare centers compete against other childcare centers, and quality will rise to the top. When we look at the economists that talk about the economy of the future, we look at the number of children we have here in Canada right now and the number of children that are in China, in India. And in the next 15, 20 years, if we don't invest the time and energy now with these children, we have such a minority in response compared to what the world will have, and Canada will even be in a further disadvantage.
So, Margaret, back to the money, because that's what I like to talk about. We're talking about $10,000 to $15,000 here for a quality education for children 3 to 6 years old, right? So basically, let's call it a $45,000 investment. Does it work because you're able to attract better quality teachers because it's a for-profit business model? People naturally want to be paid better if they're doing a better job. Is that what's happening here?
Not really. The wage difference right now from a profit to a nonprofit center, certainly there is a discrepancy. What we like to focus on is what is the culture that we're creating for these employees? What really does it feel like to come to work every day? And when you have incentives in place like professional development, opportunities for learning, those are the soft things, let's say, that are keeping people in the field of ECE. It's definitely not for the money.
All right, and unfortunately, on that note, we got to leave it there. We appreciate both of you joining us for this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Walter Heidary and Margaret Czajkowski. And coming up,